be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness. Hello and welcome back. Another episode of the Daily Dose. It is February 21st, Tuesday. And, today I thought it might be nice to ask you guys a few questions. The first thing is how many of you out there are waiting to do something? Waiting to start, waiting to try. You've got these ideas in your mind and you're like, that would be cool. That'd be really awesome if I could do that. But you're hesitant and you don't really know how or when to start. And you're just kind of waiting. And the more you wait, the more this fear kind of builds up in the back of your mind. And the more that fear gets in there, the more you think, man, I'm just not ready. I can't do this. There's this common situation that occurs when we start to try to think about doing something new, is our mind starts to go to places where it tells you you're not ready. It tells you you shouldn't. It tells you you can't. And one of the things that I think that has helped me a lot along the way is this simple question. It's something I always ask myself when I'm about to start something new, when I'm about to try something I've never tried before. I look at myself, I think about what the task is, and I ask myself, what's the worst that could happen? And then I start to go through worst possible outcomes. I go through all the scenarios. I walk down the line and I go, okay, so if I fail this, this could happen. If I fail that, this could happen. If these two things go wrong, that could happen. And I lay it all out there. And when I'm done, I go back through this list and I look at all the things that could potentially go wrong. And then I ask myself, is it still worth it? Because once you know the worst thing that could happen, the worst possible outcome, and you still determine that the task you want to do or the thing you're trying to accomplish is still worth it, you have nothing left to fear. Not to mention, here's the other fun side part to all this, is once you start to look at the potential obstacles, potential disappointments and backtracks and all the things that could potentially derail you, once you start to list those, now you can start to plan for them. You can have contingencies. You can create secondary directives. So if this goes wrong, I do this. If this goes wrong, I do that. If these two things go wrong, I have to do this, then that. And all of a sudden now, those things that could potentially go wrong, the worst possible scenarios, the worst possible outcomes, have solutions. And now you're setting yourself up for an opportunity for success. This is something I've done for a long time. It's something that I direct a lot of my athletes to do when they're about to head off to school, especially the ones who are used to being the center of attention and the star, I go, look, I want you to list all the bad things that could happen, the worst possible outcomes, and what you would do in those situations. Would you still want to be there? Do you still want that to be your direction? And I think it's eye-opening to start to look at the potential problems first, and then determine what the solutions are going to be. Too often, I think we daydream about these glorious successes, all the good things that are going to happen if I do this. If I write this book and it takes off and I get to be a millionaire, that would be amazing. Yeah, no, it would. But what's the worst possible outcome? Do you still want to write the book? Because if the worst possible outcome occurs and it's so bad that you don't want to write the book, don't write the book. This is how I make my decisions. This is how I started my podcast. This is how I decided to write a book. This is how I go about doing things that I believe to be challenging. Is I want to know what's the worst possible thing, and A, is it still worth my time to invest into doing something? And B, can I figure out a solution for that problem if it arises? If A is yes, I still want to do the thing, I'm in. I'm all in. Even if I don't figure out B. Even if I don't have the solution just yet. Because, again, these are worst possible outcomes. The odds of them occurring are probably about as slim as the odds of the very great thing, right? We're working on a bell curve here. Good things, bad things. Most likely somewhere in the middle we're going to find some happy ground. But give this a try next time you're trying to figure something out. You're trying to decide if you should take the risk or start a task or do something new. Just ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Make a list. Break it down. At the end of the day, if you look at the list and you say, yeah, you know what, I still want to do this, you got your answer. Stop waiting. Time isn't going to change these things. It's time to go. It's time to take that first step, that leap. If you're on the brink of making one of these decisions, if you're trying really hard to go forward with something, but you just don't know where to go next, hit me up. Let me help you out. I'd be happy to walk through this process with you, let you see kind of how I see things, and maybe it'll give you the opportunity that you're looking for to find that success that you're chasing. Have a wonderful Tuesday, guys. Keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, but remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.